have a lot of respect for lawyers that do just straight pre-suit because I couldn't do it. I pulled my hair out if I was talking to a jester. And
Jonathan's the same way.
What? I pulled my hair out?
Yeah, obviously. Justin Jackson, welcome to On the Verge podcast, where we talk to ordinary people that get extraordinary results. And man, you are an extraordinary lawyer here at Daniel Stark that's just knocking it out of the park. You've been here for 8.5 years.
Correct.
And something's clicked with you in the past couple of years where you have just turned it on. I mean, your results are incredible. I looked just before I walked in here. You've won $8 million in the last 12 months.
Wow.
For your clients. That's impressive, man. Did you know that? You're kind of going. I see the look on your face.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, he knew.
He knew. Okay.
I became a lawyer to avoid math. So anytime I can avoid numbers, that works for me.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, congrats. That's really, really amazing work. Let's start from a little bit backwards. What made you want to go to law school, and where did you end up going to law school?
Sure. So I'm originally from San Marcos, so the Harvard of South Central Texas, as they say. I've always kind of wanted to go to law school. I freshman year of my college, I joined the pre-law organization, and I still have friends from that became lawyers as well, which is really cool. And I have a couple of uncles that are also lawyers, and it was just something I just knew from day one that I wanted to do. I got a political science degree. Okay, there's no political science factory.
Hey, careful! My wife has a political science degree. Don't make fun.
Okay, I'm not. There's no factory I can go get a job at. So it was from day one, and then I went to St. Mary's in San Antonio, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And so I was in that Central Texas area. It was close to home too, so it made a lot of sense.
But you chose personal injury.
Correct.
Tell us about that.
Yes.
Because you've been doing that from the beginning.
Yes. So I graduated from law school without knowing what I wanted to do. So if anyone's listening that is going to law school, don't do what I did. Have an idea of what you want to do when you graduate from law school. So I moved back to San Marcos and joined a small town firm that, this guy kind of took everything, family, criminal, some personal injury. I quickly learned what I didn't want to do, which is family and criminal. And he had a couple of personal injury cases. And I was like, man, this is fun. And so really got into that. Applied and got to a firm in Austin, Stephen Stewart's office. Sent me out to Odessa, and I opened his Odessa office for him.
I didn't know that. I know Stephen Stewart well.
Right.
Oh, yeah, well.
And he was really close with my former brother-in-law, who's now passed. But anyway, I when I was looking at your resume today, I was like, I did not know that you worked for Stephen Stewart. He's a good guy.
He is.
Yeah, they're in South Austin, just south of the river.
That's right.
Yeah, been to that office, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So then you landed at Daniel Stark. What led you here?
Right. So we were living in Midland, Odessa at the time, and I will not disparage that area of the world. I know y'all went to Texas Tech.
Look,
no,
you don't have to disparage it. People that have been there know.
I missed seeing a tree every once in a while.
Yeah.
This area was my home anyway. This part of Texas, at least. So. We had lived out there for 2 years. I learned the ropes in personal injury. It was a great place to practice personal injury. Just a lot of oil tankers out there and people that are behind the wheel that shouldn't be behind the wheel. And so learned a lot really quickly, but knew I needed to get back. I won't say to civilization, but to some greenery.
Wanted to raise your family a little closer to home.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then I think I just applied for Daniel Stark. I think that's how informal it was. And
yeah.
And I remember, the rounds of interviews and all that good stuff. And so that's how that was back in 2017. So that was a different world.
So for the record, Stephen Stewart, we didn't recruit him.
No.
In fact, I didn't even know that he worked there. And, I don't think I was involved in your hiring. So just for the record, Stephen, we did not recruit your great lawyer here.
Yeah, but you just said something I want to dig into a little more. You said that was a different world. Talking about 2017. I agree. but I don't know for the same reasons. Tell me what you mean.
Well, in two ways. Number one, the world just was different in how we practice law in general. Everything was in person. Depositions were in person. I was racking up crazy miles on my truck. The practice of law was different. Daniel Stark was different. We were, I don't remember how many lawyers we had at that time, but it was maybe 12?
Yeah,
somewhere in that range. Now, I haven't looked at the website in a while, but we're probably at 27, 28, something like that.
Almost 40.
40. Yeah. See, that's how far back I am on looking at the website. But different world technology wise. It's almost weird having an in-person deposition these days, but it was just different. World-wise, practice law-wise, and Daniel Stark-wise.
Yeah. And you were probably at that time, you probably were doing some pre-litigation, some litigation.
Correct. So yeah, at that time we were doing a lot of hybrid work. So a lot of the lawyers had both a half docket of pre-lit or pre-suit before we file a lawsuit, and then after we file a lawsuit work.
Yeah, but you've become to really like the litigation aspect, and
correct.
Now your full docket's all litigation, correct?
Correct. Yes, I can't. I have a lot of respect for lawyers that do just straight pre-suit because I couldn't do it. I pulled my hair out if I was talking to a adjuster and
tell us more about that, because there are. Jonathan's the same way.
What? I pulled my hair out?
Obviously.
That's what happened. Okay.
Yeah, he just, the thought of talking to an insurance adjuster is just not really on his list of fun things to do. And so you're similar in that way. What is it?
I like the idea, our case is a train, and it's on the tracks, and it has a destination to get to, and it doesn't matter what the adjuster thinks or says or throws in front of that train. I like the idea of heading that direction.
Yeah.
And there are little markers I got to get to in the case, and there is an end to the case. That is the trial date.
Yeah.
And you don't get that in pre-suit. You don't have that hammer that they have to respect at the end of the day.
Sure.
Man, and adjusters just lie. They just do. No, listen, I'll tell you. I had a situation in the last year where some idiot ran over one of my cars. Wasn't in it. It was a hit and run. My car was parked. They damaged my car. The whole thing's on video. So I go into this establishment I was at. I get a copy of the video. You get the license plate information, right? I make a claim because I've got about $3,500 in damage. And this insurance adjuster calls me and says that unfortunately I have not met the burden of proof. Now I don't think this insurance adjuster knew that I was a lawyer. So rather than argue with her immediately, I delayed the argument for a little fun. And I said, her name was Anastasia. I said, Anastasia, what is the burden of proof? I don't know what she was actually talking about, but it was not the Texas burden of proof in a car wreck case, an automobile accident case. And I'm sitting here listening to this, and there's part of me that is amused by how either misinformed or how deliberately deceitful this lady was. And then the other part of me was thinking, man, this is what people that don't hire an attorney deal with. And you would think that an insurance adjuster who handles thousands and thousands of cases, when they are purporting to tell you what the law is and what your requirements are, that there would be some level of candor and honesty in that. It's just not true.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm a lawyer being lied to by an insurance adjuster, and I was literally left with only one option. I had to hire a lawyer. You're laughing.
You hired yourself.
No, I hired Leanne, one of the lawyers.
One of our lawyers.
Yeah, we need to get her in here soon. She's awesome.
Oh, already did that.
Oh, you already did that.
Yeah.
So I hired Leanne to represent me, and she got it taken care of. But I own a law firm. This is all I've done for the last 25 years, and I could not get my own case resolved. Yeah, I had to hire an attorney.
That is good for our future employment.
Yeah.
It's awful, though.
I hate it. I hate it for people because it's, and you do wonder what kind of training are they going through?
I mean, I bet she was trained.
Oh, I'm
to
sure.
I'm
sure.
Say this nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The number of clients I've had that have just said the only reason I picked up the phone was because they were jerking my chain. They weren't giving me a rental car, and we talk about what we do. I mean, I think really what we do is we take that burden off their shoulders and say you don't need to worry about that part anymore of the case.
Not only just a hassle and inconvenience, but you don't have to worry about if what you're being told is true.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's a shame.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
sorry. I digress.
No, that's good. I mean, it is a big part of what I think people feel relieved when they ultimately hire a lawyer.
Sure.
You're too young for this, but back in the day, there was this commercial. It was Calgon, Take Me Away.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, do you remember that?
Heck
You
yeah,
don't?
dude.
You
We're
do?
showing
Yeah.
our age. Man, it was a bubble bath.
Bubble bath. So it was like their whole marketing concept was just, the bubbles must have been so good that it just took all the worries away. And so anytime somebody tells me that, I'm always thinking, yeah, that's what we do. We're Calgon. Take of all the worries away,
That's awesome.
Anyway.
I don't know if they're still in business, but it was
I don't.
it was pretty. My mom was a Calgon lady, and I must admit that every now and then I would sneak in and take my own Calgon bath. It was pretty good stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty good stuff.
That doesn't fit on a billboard as well. Like the
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I can remember back when the firm first started. Danny and I, we didn't have paralegals. We didn't have a new client team. We did all of that. And like you're talking about, I can remember people calling and they were just so exacerbated with the process. They just didn't know what to do. And so,
speaking of exacerbated with the process,
no doubt.
This is one of your cases. The first one we want to talk about is Michael. This is a made up name for the privacy of this particular case, but Michael was a 46-year-old, I believe, that was in a crash in Waco, Texas, where the defendant driver ran a red light and hit him broadside.
Correct.
Right. He had some previous medical conditions, maybe a back surgery in the past. Is that true, or are we mixing up? I might be mixing them up.
It's okay. Yeah, you're mixing them up.
Okay.
Michael was a very healthy guy.
Okay.
Jogged around Waco, downtown Waco. Him and his wife, very active people. But you had the facts of the crash, right? Some college kid not paying attention, slams into him. Pretty good hit. But no, that was the tragedy of that case, among other things, was that he was just
he was
very
in good
active,
shape.
good
Ultimately led to needing a surgery.
Correct.
So he was hurt. I remember from looking over the case just briefly. I mean, I think the initial offer on his case was $12,000,
something like that. Yes.
And he really just wanted this to get behind him. He didn't want to have to endure the entire process.
Correct. So, yes. So the thing with Michael, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when I first met with him, when we decided to file suit, it was an immediate, hey, I don't want to be involved in a lawsuit. He was a devout Christian, and this was almost icky to him in a way. And I always think like lawyers, the majority of time that people interact with a lawyer, it's because someone's trying to take your freedom, trying to take your money, or trying to split up your family, right? Mm-hmm. We're in that rare niche where we're not doing those things. And so I had to kind of build that trust with him and explain to him, look, I'm not doing any of those things to you. It's this insurance company that's doing these things to you. And this is your family and your livelihood that's on the line here, because we got to take care of you medically and make sure you're not bankrupt from this. Mm-hmm. And so that took a couple of in-person meetings to get that trust. And I think, he's obviously happy that happened.
Yeah, because ultimately the final result was
$490,000.
$490,000. So you got $12,000 offer, $490,000 result.
Correct.
Took some extra time to get there.
Correct.
But this particular case was the kid that hit him only had a $30,000 policy.
Correct. And so this goes back to insurance companies and training, or I don't know what the problem is, but the lawyer before me sent what we call it, a Stowers demand, which is essentially just a demand that says pay all of your insurance, and if you don't, and a jury, pops you for a lot of money, the insurance company could be on the hook for it. And they did not.
Hold on, though. Let's dig in there just a tiny bit longer.
Yeah, I said that
because a lot of people don't understand. Yeah. Well, no, you described it perfectly, but a lot of people don't understand that the value of their claim can be limited by how much insurance the other person bought.
Correct.
And so, they call it the policy limit. And so if someone goes out there and they only buy 30,000, which that's the minimum in Texas, crazy that it's still that low. I don't know when the last time it changed, been several decades. But if somebody only has $30,000 in insurance and they catastrophically injure you and you don't have underinsured motorist coverage, there are most of the time, you're going to be limited to $30,000.
Correct. And I saw a study, and my numbers could be off a little bit, but I saw a study in Texas that 50% of drivers driving around either have no insurance or $30,000.
Wow.
And so I was reminding my
this
clients
was one of those cases, right?
It's one of those cases.
Yeah. But there's a way around it that lawyers, like yourself and all the lawyers here at Daniel Stark are obviously trained on. Stowers. So now tell us a little more. What about the Stowers doctrine?
Sure. So Stowers is just the name of the case that this rule comes from. And essentially it says that you got to give the insurance company a chance to pay. So when you send them your medical bills and records, you got to give them a certain amount of time to look those over. And you say essentially, pay me your insurance policy limits. And if you do, you're settled, you're taking care of your insured, and we're kind of done here. But if they don't, and you go all the way to a jury trial, and the jury awards more than that insurance policy, then you've got to prove that the insurance company was negligent in not paying that claim the first time. And if they are determined to be negligent in not paying that claim, then they are going to be on the hook for the remaining amount of that verdict.
Yeah. Okay, so you did that in this case, sent the Stowers demand.
Correct. And there was a lot of medical records. He had been through a lot, and so $12,000 in medical bills. Some people may think that's a lot, but it's not in our world. That's just not a lot of medical bills. And so they probably just looked at the medical bills, maybe saw a couple of records and said, this isn't worth $30,000. But deep down in one little line on one little page from Baylor, Scott and White, it said, I think this guy needs a cervical laminectomy. Mm-hmm. And that was in that record. He had not gotten the surgery at that point. But he eventually did get that surgery, and by then, of course, that demand had been expired for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Wow,
what a major turn of events there with that result. When his recovery was really limited to $30,000, it was obviously worth way more than that, but you ultimately got to $490,000.
Sure.
So that's what a wonderful result. How was a client? I know before the case he was, fell into that bucket. I mean, I'm not the suing type. I just want what I can get. Let me put this behind me. Wanted it over quick. Insurance company forced his hand. He had to go through the whole process. But at the end, how was he?
At the end, he was very happy. And so when we have these type of cases that we know we're in for the long haul, you got to have the right client. And he was just, he made me want to be a better person when I met him. Yeah. Just totally selfless in his thinking. And so at the end of the case, he pledged a certain amount of that percentage of that settlement money to a certain charity there in Waco that he works with.
That's remarkable.
That is incredible.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm gonna recommend him to I shouldn't say this part, but you can cut it out. Recommend him for the the Be Remarkable award.
Yeah, for sure.
He's so deserving of it.
Well, the whole Be Remarkable award was inspired by the remarkable people that we represent, and so I don't know. Have we ever had a former client as a recipient of the Be Remarkable award?
Yeah,
I think kind of, right? I'm thinking of Jamie with Allie's Way.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not totally unprecedented. And so that our clients were the inspiration for the award, and every now and then a client could potentially win it. It kind of makes a lot of sense, Justin. Yeah. You should definitely nominate. And we don't select, so they get nominated, and we work with the TV station. So we're not 100% independent of the selection process for the winners. So nominating.
Okay,
yeah.
I will.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that money, stays in Waco. That's something that is really not always known. I don't want to get on a soapbox about tort reform, but that money stays in Waco and is not going to Chicago or some other big city wherever this very large insurance company was headquartered.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know that it's a bad idea to get on the tort reform soapbox. Because I do think people don't understand, generally speaking, again, we talked about these $30,000 policy limits and how low they are. That doesn't just expose the individuals who may be in a wreck by some person who either doesn't have insurance or only has $30,000 in insurance. The hospitals, there's no money to pay their bills. The EMS, life flight, the surgeons that have to come in after the fact. And to the extent that people need long-term care, we as taxpayers are bearing that burden because these insurance companies aren't.
Correct.
So, I mean, people think about lawsuits, and generally speaking, at least my perception is, generally speaking, they're only thinking about how those may impact the two people, the plaintiff and the defendant.
Correct.
The ripple effect of these lawsuits is much, much more significant than that. So, I think it is something people need to be aware of. It didn't just change Michael's life and his family's life, but it's impacting the community at large in meaningful ways. Mm-hmm. We should talk about that more.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's switch over to your other case you brought to talk about. Remind me of the this particular client's name.
Daniel.
Yeah, you should remember that. His alias is
Daniel.
Is your last name.
Yeah.
So
Daniel.
If you screw this one up,
I'll remember his name.
Yeah.
So tell us about this case. Where was it? What happened?
Yeah, this was on University Drive here in Bryan, Texas. The common theme, there's two common themes between both of these cases. One is just negligence on the insurance company at the very beginning of the case. That's one. And number two, just great clients, just great people. And Daniel was one of them, a lifelong firefighter. I mean, just a great guy. He's just stopped there on University and just gets absolutely smashed by a drunk college kid there on University. And he did have pre-existing, prior stuff going on with his back.
Yeah, like he had a back surgery.
He had a back surgery maybe 5 or 6 months earlier. And he, his story was he was doing great after the surgery, and then he gets smacked by this drunk kid, and he was not doing fine after that. And so what's really important in his case was, he did exactly what we were talking about earlier. He just wanted a rental car. He just wanted. He picked up the phone and called us because he was getting the runaround. And again, if the insurance company had just worked with him, treated him fair, and I've always said, I mean, if insurance companies did that, we would be out of a job pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But they didn't, and so they kept trying to get him to say he wasn't hurt on the recorded line, and just all this crazy stuff, And so what was his main damage that didn't really come out until his deposition, because this isn't really something that goes into the medical records, is he had his only daughter's wedding a few months after our wreck and was unable to really dance at his daughter's wedding.
Oh man, wow. I got 2 daughters. That's a big deal.
And so, case closed after that. Opposing counsel had a daughter. I had a daughter. We chatted about that a little bit. So
yeah.
Justin, one of the things that I like to talk about is in these cases, every now and then, there's one fact that is discovered that is so impactful it renders all the other facts irrelevant. And that's kind of one of those, what would you pay to have the ability to go back and get your dance with your daughter at her wedding? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just that's one of those facts.
That's a critical fact when you can find those nuggets in these cases, and that's what too many lawyers are overloaded with too many cases. They don't make the effort to get to know the client deeply enough to find out those kind of facts. That takes a real conversation.
I'm always just shocked when I hear about other people that have other lawyers and other law firms, not us, that have never met their lawyer. That actually happens.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, a lot. I'm getting Facebook ads that like, you can hire an AI lawyer.
Right.
But you don't want somebody actually intelligent. Only artificially intelligent. Yeah. Oh, that's scary.
That's funny.
That is funny. Yeah.
So anyway.
And so just meeting with him, and we have like an in-house counselor that he met with that fleshed out all those things. It wasn't just that. It was he has a very important job at a company now that trains firefighters, and just missing out on that too. I mean, all those little things, meeting him in person, meeting with a counselor, those things that are not in the hospital records.
Sure.
And all that came out in his deposition. And that combined with, these DWI cases. So when the defendant is drunk or high or something like that, just getting the prosecutor on the phone as well and making a team out of it in the sense of, hey, look, I represent the victim. Your calling is to take care of the victim too. Let's share information. What is going on your side of the case? Can I talk to the officer? All those things. Like in this case, I talked to the prosecutor and he kind of walked me through what they're doing on the criminal side, and that kind of guided us on our side as well. So just getting all those resources, getting the body cams from the DWI side of things is always important as well.
Yeah. We live here in a college town, and there tends to be a lot of that DUI activity, and I'm sure it's in every town, it seems to be more prevalent in our towns. I know I'm very cautious about the time frames in which I was going to go out on the road, and then of course with my kids, one who's driving and in college, the other who's about to drive. It's like there are certain times of the day you don't want to be on the road. Do you remember what time of day this particular case was?
It was not late.
Yeah.
I think it was like maybe 9 p.m., 10 p.m.
Yeah,
Nothing,
wow.
nothing,
maybe
nothing
a
crazy.
home game or
Yeah.
Sad. Yeah,
Sad.
it's just college kids, man, they feel invincible. But when you get yourself in a situation like this, when you hurt people, and there were multiple cars in this, he rear-ended a car that pushed that car into our client.
Correct.
So there was another party that was injured that hired a different lawyer. So, huge liability for this kid, his family, and then obviously he's being prosecuted. I'm sure he's going to spend some time in jail.
Life will be very different.
Yeah. Hard to get a job, so.
It is.
Don't drink and drive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Don't do that. And it's so easy now. One of the first questions I ask in a DWI deposition is, especially with younger people, you got the Uber app. It's such an easy.
Yeah.
Not that it was. Not that there was an excuse before, but
No,
it's 2
but
clicks
I mean,
away.
back in the day, you got to call an old yellow cab, and you live in a place like Bryan College Station, where there's like 3 of them.
Sure.
You could
Parent
be a hot minute.
Parent tip here. You hope, and your kids are still young.
Yes.
But Jonathan and I have kids that are college age, and I know yours and mine both have our credit cards on their Uber,
and it is a no questions asked policy.
I hope to see an Uber charge.
Right.
Yeah.
And so give your kids Uber. Make
now,
sure they have access to it.
Uber Eats, not
that's
as
a different
much,
story.
but you're right. And so this kid presumably had Uber.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
Shame. It's a shame. So how things end up for Daniel? Tell us more.
They ended up great. So the insurance company, they were obviously very motivated to get out of the case. And Daniel was similar to the first one where he didn't want to go to trial. This wasn't the type of guy he felt like he was. And towards the end, he understood more as I met with him and we explained what was going on. Mm-hmm. And of course, he was upset that he was hit by a drunk kid. That's upsetting. And so we went to mediation, and they obviously came with a good amount of money. His medical bills were low. Again, that had nothing to do with.
What was the range?
I think it was even less than the first one. I think it was like $10,000. I mean, he had some appointments, had a back brace for a little while, but he had like a hairline fracture in one of the X-rays, and they just gave him a back brace for a little while, and then he kind of got better. But missing out on
but what he missed out on, that doesn't get better.
That's true. And so he missed out on all those things that we discussed earlier, and so they wanted to get out of it.
Yeah.
If they had just done what they were supposed to do at the very beginning, they would have saved themselves $1 million right there.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I'm glad they didn't. And on one hand, you talk about if the insurance companies would just treat people fairly. They never will. It may have the appearance of fairness, and that's what scares me more. These insurance companies now are calling people within days of a wreck, saying, "Hey, we're here. We're on your side. Let's do this. We'll agree to pay you $2,500 for the inconvenience and your pain and suffering. Plus, we'll pay up to $10,000 in medical bills." And so they're trying to get people to settle these cases, and that is a binding agreement. When you fall victim to that ploy, it is binding.
They record your conversation.
That's it. And they're getting
They
these
get a release on the phone.
That's it. And people are settling their cases for $12,000 and $12,500, whatever, and feeling like they got a great result. But when you hire a law firm that takes the time to understand that your story is unique, and they discover that unique story, and then they tell it for full value, you're talking about, in these 2 cases alone, a $480,000 swing over what these insurance companies are trying to get people to agree to today. So if you're listening, we don't want people to have wrecks, but don't get hit twice. Don't fall victim to these insurance companies trying to get you to settle before you even know what's wrong. It's unconscionable. Our ethics rules. Maybe I'll get on a soapbox. Our ethics rules say that a lawyer shouldn't make an effort to reach out to an accident victim for 30 days after the crash. These insurance companies are not bound by these same ethical rules. And so people have this window of time where, unless they're out there seeking this information on their own, they don't even know the games that these insurance companies are playing. It's just unconscionable. Unconscionable.
Yeah.
I'm glad that that didn't happen to Daniel and Michael.
Yeah. No, they made the right decision. And their life, like I said, one's going to be donating a good percentage of that settlement to someone in Waco that needs it, and so it changed that person's life too.
Yeah. Great results on 2 cases
for sure.
I want to just, before we close out, I want to back up something I said earlier. You've had a change. You've been here 8 years, and I said a couple of years ago something's changed in you.
Maybe a little longer.
A little longer than a couple of years. Maybe it was 3 years. Time does fly when you get older. But I'm curious if you're willing to share what changed. Because you were, I'm not saying you weren't a good lawyer before. You were, but you're like top of the food chain now. Your results are speak for themselves. So something shifted. I'm curious if you can pinpoint a time or something that's happened that gave you a shift of mentality that really changed your career.
Yeah, so I think I've become less money obsessed and more just very, as long as the client gets happy and healthy and just betters their life. And I know this is a business and we got to make money, but I've become I haven't looked at, I acted surprised earlier how much money that I've made, because I really do, hand on the Bible, do not look at much of our report that shows all that. So I have just done my best to meet with the client as much as possible and do everything I can to make them better medically, spiritually, mentally, and let the chips fall where they may on the money side of things. And I think that's really changed my outlook on how I do things.
Yeah,
wow,
that's the appropriate approach. And it is something about hiring a law firm that has the resources to not need to settle any one case at a particular moment in time because of some bill for the law firm that may be due. That financial independence does bring with it the ability to have just unbridled aggression on the value of these cases and making sure that we do get our clients full value. And Justin, you've certainly done a remarkable job of doing exactly that. Thank you.
To another level.